Time now for News Extra, brought to you by Classic One Insurance at First State Bank, because it's always something. Here's Kevin Mooney.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Good morning, everybody. Very pleased to have State Senator John Stinner here today as he gets ready for his journey in the legislature in about another 10 days or so. And boy, he's been doing a lot of things to prepare for his first day. And I guess the first thing we should talk about is staffing. You have picked the same administrative assistant as Senator Harms, carrying over that. But tell us about what you did as far as your legislative assistant goes.
I had John Harms actually at the at our celebration at the end of the election, and he grabs me and he says, "Gosh, you got to get down there and get a legislative aide picked right away, because Lincoln and Omaha people will have them all picked." So I got in my car with Rita, and of course she needed to find me a place to live, so she had her projects. But I interviewed about 7 people in one day and ended up picking a legislative aide. And really what I was looking for was chemistry. I was looking for that institutional memory that I obviously don't possess. And I picked somebody with 16 years of legislative experience as a legislative aide, has a legal background, really kind of was a good fit. So I'm really happy with the staff that I have. That consistency with John Harms' office with the administrative assistant was also a big item. I actually had her sit in on the interviews to make sure that the chemistry was right.
All right. So the names of those folks, just in case they don't know.
Roger Keetle.
And
Jennifer, and I can't pronounce her last name yet. It's Svelka, and Harms is going to kill me for this.
Okay, well, you'll learn it.
Well,
that's for
I
sure.
know how to spell it.
Well, you know how to spell it. That's good. All right, very good. And then you also did a lot of preparation work in various areas. And I didn't even realize they have classes that you guys go to prior to being there, but I guess that's what happens.
We actually spent 2.5 days on orientation, and the next week then after orientation was a legislative summit, and that's a biannual event that's required by the legislature, and it really kind of goes through what the committees have done, what the progress is, what the findings were of the various committees, whether it be education or prisons or Medicaid, and just really kind of update you and give you an opportunity to ask some questions. Very informative. The first part of it actually was for us freshman senators, was a half a day on the budget and how that all comes together, and was very informative. Then after that, we had mock session. I think 2 weeks after that, we went back down for mock session, which was interesting, to be able to stand up in the chamber and use the microphones and talk. And it's a sobering experience, let's put it that way.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I think that'd be interesting. Committee assignments, I know that doesn't happen yet. It'll happen another day or two after the session begins, but you're looking at possibly getting on the Appropriations Committee. That would be your priority, right?
That's my first choice. My second choice is Revenue, and then I have a couple other third, fourth, and fifth choices. I'm hoping that first choice comes in. I started my business career as a CPA, and then, of course, in commercial banking, I've dealt with numbers throughout my career, my business career. Spent 10 years on the Gearing School Board, head of finance. I feel pretty comfortable with numbers. I feel like appropriations is where everything kind of pulls together, where you can get that picture of the state financing and what these different elements and parts that make up the state. So I think that's the best place to learn.
All right, and we hope you get it, because I think you'd be good on appropriations. And I think when Senator Harms was on appropriation, we enjoyed maybe some things that maybe some other areas of the state didn't. And getting money to this side of the state is tough sometimes.
It's tough and it's critical.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back after this break. We'll talk about where the senator wants to sit in the chamber. You'll be interested right after this.
It's always something, that's for sure.
Your homeowner's policy covers a lot, but it may not cover your most valuable possessions.
My baseball card collection.
Talk to us. We'll make sure your homeowner's policy covers the things you value most. Classic One Insurance. It's always something.
It's always something.
All right, we're back on News Extra this morning. We're talking to State Senator John Stinner, getting ready to go on his maiden voyage over to the legislature there, his first year. And we've talked about staffing and preparation and committee assignments and all that stuff. And he already knows where he's going to be sitting. And you even asked for this seat. Explain to people where you're going to sit and why you want to be there.
Well, as a senator, as a freshman senator, we got three choices. My first choice was to sit next to Ernie Chambers. My second one was Heath Mello, who is the head of appropriations. My third was just a wild card, put me anywhere type of thing. I got my first choice. I am sitting next to Ernie. Actually, Pat O'Donnell, who's the clerk, looked at me and asked me, he said, really? I said, absolutely. I want to sit next to the smartest people in the legislature, ones that I can learn very quickly from. And whether you like Ernie or not, he's been 40 years in the legislature. He knows the process. And if you're going to learn something for good or ill, you're going to learn it from Ernie.
Yeah. And you've known Ernie.
I've known Ernie. In fact, as a former University of Nebraska football player, there was a legislative bill up at one time requiring the University of Nebraska actually pay their football players.
Yeah.
So we were all rooting for him at that time.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting sitting next to Ernie. I think that'll be a lot of fun. All right. So some of the things you think, well, obviously we're going to talk about property taxes in this session, right?
Yeah, we'll be talking about not only property tax, but taking a look at all the taxes and kind of laying all those things out. Really, probably the number one hot issue is the prison situation. A study's been conducted. Some results are out. We're going to look and see what the governor's proposal is and who his new people are. We're going to take a look at school financing again. The equalization formula isn't an equalization formula, so we're going to take probably a hard look at that. Career academies come into play in that and how we're going to finance some of those transitional things that we're seeing in education. Early childhood instruction and is something that I'm interested in. That first five were the sixpence program that Scottsbluff has that's highly rated. I actually that resonates with me because as kids are developing in those first 5 years, that's where the brain develops. That's where they get ready for kindergarten. If you looked at the statistics, 60% of the kids in Scottsbluff that entered kindergarten weren't ready to be in kindergarten, didn't have those basic skills. So they already start behind. That's your sped kids. That's your dropout kids. I think there's something to be said that if we can make that linkage work, it'll be very beneficial as far as financing is concerned for schools. So
yeah, all right. Okay, so we talked about those things. Medicaid, you think that's going to be on the agenda again?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that there's another proposal coming out. I have looked at a Pennsylvania plan, which was just passed by a Republican governor. I've taken a look at a Utah plan. Some of the elements of that is really trying to take a look at what you have today in your Medicaid. And in Pennsylvania, they happen to have more benefits than the U.S. government required, so they lowered the benefits to the U.S. government standards. The second thing they looked at was eligibility, and they found that about a good percentage, and I don't know what that percentage was, were not eligible or else had to be reduced. So they were cutting costs going in and put together a sustainable plan. And that's really what I'm looking at is sustainability. We can't have a 7.5%. That's what the asking is today, 7.5% increase in Medicaid. It's just not a sustainable number.
That's what's driving the budget right now.
It is.
And it really is, that Medicaid expense. And I guess the biggest thing with that Medicaid plan is, can you trust the federal government to do what they say they're going to do now in the future? Right?
That would be the big question. And I've had some history, certainly with special ed. And you know, they got us hooked in at a 90% level, and then a 70, and then a 60, and of course you change administrations. Now all of a sudden it's the biggest, fastest growing budget item in school financing as well. So not a good partner when you look at the $1 trillion in debt and some of the things in past history. It's probably not a good partner. But the other side is you got to get some people covered.
Yeah.
And if we can get it done in a sustainable fashion, makes sense long term, and I'm talking 25, 30, 40 years out, I'd probably take a favorable look at it.
All right. All right. Well, we appreciate you coming down and being here. And I know you were in Pittsburgh when I contacted you last week, and they don't even have any snow there, folks. It was raining and 40.
40 degrees and overcast. Yeah, and I still have both my parents, 85 and 90, and they're still living in the same house that I grew up in. So they're doing pretty well.
That's got to be nice. Well, good luck with the legislature. We appreciate you coming in and talking about your plans. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.